Yeah. Apart from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, and Japan,
Bangladesh, Pakistan is doing very well. I mean,
yeah.
I forgot to, because they have got a lesser vaccination coverage, but because of the dense population, the virus must have run through them.
Okay.
With the minimum casualties and minimum deaths because of the younger population.
You mean to say they had a lot of natural immunity?
Natural immunity. Same thing in Africa. Africa is having most of the African continents, if you see, their vaccination coverage is less than 3%. Most of the countries in Africa, except for South Africa, it has got 30% vaccination coverage, but it has got the 4-digit mortality compared to 1 or 2-digit mortality in countries which have got 1 or 2% vaccination coverage. So South Africa is a higher vaccination coverage. But what is different in South Africa? South Africa, the obesity rates are more or less similar to the Western countries. Other African countries are very, very lean. But South Africa, and then subsequently there are studies also that if you can control your obesity, control of obesity gives you 70-80% protection from the severe COVID and death. So the vaccine immunity, they claim 90%, but after 6 months, it is 30%. So obesity, if you control obesity, that gives you a better, perhaps, it's acting as a vaccine or a natural overall health. That's why I like this platform where you promote overall health with yoga and diet and other things, that they are on the right path.
Yeah. And apart from that, you did something with Brazil also, Brazil and Israel.
Thank you, Shankar, for bringing that out. Brazil is also a country in South America which is having a younger population, 30. We expect a lower mortality, but their obesity is almost 60%. I mean, overweight percentage, a BMI above 25. So their obesity is in par with the Western countries, and they've fared very badly in later part of the pandemic. Initially, they did not have much transmission perhaps, but once the virus hit Brazil, it really caused mayhem there because they are very obese people. In fact, I wrote on those lines, and I got some doctor communicated with me on the LinkedIn. And she says, you are very right. Whatever patients I am seeing in hospitals in severe condition, 90% are very obese people. So she also was very fascinated when I sitting in other part of the world, just looking at the data. She was looking at the patient, I was looking at the data, and the jigsaw puzzle fell in place.
So obesity is a big factor. I'll come back to another question. You had of course, you have partially answered this, but I'll go into more detail. You have recently tweeted your study titled COVID-19 Mass Vaccination, How Much Impact at Population Level. In this, you had said the patterns or trends and deaths from COVID-19 before and after vaccine rollout is not encouraging. And then you left it to the readers to infer conclusion. What is your viewpoint? Of course, you had said that halfway into 2021, there was a sobering realization that impact of mass vaccination at population level was rather modest.
So you want my take on it?
Yeah, you had left it to the viewers to conclude, but I want to know what is your conclusion.
Yeah, in fact, the same thing was asked to me just a couple of days back. There was a filmmaker from Germany, Robert Sibis. So I was discussing this day before yesterday only in his studio at Mumbai. So he was trying to act as a devil's advocate. When I presented this data, my editorial, he was trying to give a devil's advocate, and I thought he has stumped me, but I mean, he has cornered me. Then I got a quick, I thought on my feet, though while I was sitting, I could think on my feet. I was showing the same data, I was showing Japan data before vaccination post, and similarly. Then I was comparing UK and USA. Then he says, "No, you can't compare. I'm acting as a devil's advocate. There may be different system of health. Some have very good health services. Some have poor data collection. So one country data you cannot compare with other countries. So you cannot come to this." He told me that you answer my question. I am taking this way. That then suddenly I got an inspiration. I said, "Yeah, but I am comparing Sri Lanka with Sri Lanka. Before the vaccine, after the vaccine. So whatever deficiencies in data collection Sri Lanka had before vaccination, presume. Similarly, Malaysia before, after, Africa before, after. So then I said, yes, that is good. Then he was very fascinated. Then he made me talk on that, and he recorded it. Let us see. He says, this is very fascinating. And I said, this is something which a high school student can also infer from it. So we have to, I mean, what is that it has been a quite, anticlimax. because everyone was led to believe that, now we have got the vaccine and everything will come to normal. And after the vaccine, there is more chaos. I mean, first, you forget about the side effects. I'm not talking about the side effects. I'm not talking of the long-term adverse effects. I'm talking of the economy scale, the amount of money which is invested. I mean, and if you don't get the return for that, I mean, you are draining away from the other. As it is, you have had so many draconian measures like lockdown and other things, which has really, Sri Lanka has got into bankruptcy. Other countries may follow suit. So that may again increase the other diseases, diseases like malnutrition. Already 2,000 children die in India daily, and other diseases of poverty, tuberculosis. So this is a concern that, I mean, public health should not be only one disease. Public health should be other diseases also.
I will take forward from what I think Dr. Sibis had sent, but you have not answered my question about what is your conclusion on this. And also, what do you have to say about India?
I would say the best thing would have been to preserve a vaccine in those countries like poor countries like India or Sri Lanka, preserve the vaccine for the elderly and those who have got comorbidities. As I would call it, focused vaccination rather than mass rollout. And as it is, we had done zero surveys in India and other countries also. We had got almost 80% of below 18 years in many parts of the country are having antibodies, natural immunity. That was before the vaccine rollout. So you cannot say this. So spared the young people, you would have saved vaccines, and even adults who have got a positive RT-PCR in the past 6 months. Everybody must have done number of RT-PCR because of travel, other things. So anybody who had a positive RT-PCR in the past 1 year or 2 years could have been excluded from vaccination. That would have saved the vaccine. And another concern is that this type of thing requires investigation. My take on it is, like, after the vaccination, why there is a spike. There have been certain virologists who had concerns that it may give rise to mutations. The new mutations are escaping. So vaccine pressure can also bring mutations. So mass-scale vaccination in a pandemic has never been advocated earlier, never been done earlier on such a large scale. So I have a concern that this may be either due to the new mutations, or more, another serious concern is sometimes that too much of antigenic stimulation can cause a phenomenon known as antibody-dependent enhancement, where it can precipitate the disease, severe disease. So that requires proper research. Actually, we are not doing proper research. We are not considering these questions. So this is something which we should.
Do you think, in this context, the rollout that is starting from today, the paid vaccination, is also not a focused vaccination?
Paid vaccination?
Yeah, that is starting from today for anyone between 18 and that is not vaccination, the booster dose.
Precautionary dose. It's not required, actually.
It can be only for only for people who are comorbid rather than mass vaccination.
Certainly, it should not be rolled out at a mass scale. There are Western countries are doing it, but they are not doing it correctly. There are concerns, because if you see, particularly in young people, there have been increase in myocarditis from the baseline level in the Western countries. And in our country also, there have been particularly some vaccines are causing the clots and other things in younger people. So, and younger people at almost negligible risk, particularly those who have recovered. And most of our people, we can take it that they have faced the natural infection. So we have a very strong, robust immunity. And I think that is the only thing that after mass rollout vaccination, we are not having a spike, because it is a prior natural immunity